Just to check if Ale is commenting what he's doing, you're muted.
Oh, thank you. I was speaking. I spoke a lot on these things. So
I
let me.
thought that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll repeat. The download API implementation is in Kubernetes is going through some good review and feedback cycle. I don't see any red flags on the API so far, so it seems like it is in good shape to be accepted this release. I'll keep everyone posted with the updates here. Uh, Apart from that, the other work for release 1.8, which is kind of consuming the changes here, but making sure that we don't rely on the dependency. That is in review right now. We are running a little bit late on the review since the um, exception freeze is tomorrow. But even if we miss release 1.8, we should still be able to backport those changes because it is not it is an alpha feature and it is not breaking any of the spec APIs. So hopefully we'll be able to push for it in 1.8, but if not, we still have a path forward. Let me put that PR here just so everyone is.
Ali, do you know when is their code freeze? I mean, how much time do they have to actually merge this into 135?
Well, 136.
Oh,
Uh,
136.
yes, let
Oh yeah,
me,
136, right.
yeah, quickly look it up. I think there are 2 more weeks, but uh, let me confirm that.
So wait, we are going to release 1.8 based on 135.
Yeah, I think what was agreed with Itamar and other folks in SIG Compute was that even though this PR standardizes the API, we in our 1.8 release work we don't depend on the changes here. We have our own reader that will read it and use the API format suggested here, but we don't have to necessarily wait for 136.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
and then once we have this, the reader will be changed to 136 and there will not be any breaking changes on that. Okay. So two things for me, the code freeze date. Yeah, let me get back to you on that one, Larry.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I understand that it's yeah, it's okay.
Okay. And then I want to put the PR here for 1.6. Okay, yeah. Oh, well, not trace. Okay. Yeah, that's all I had. If anyone else has questions regarding these two, if not, we can let Nestor go.
I have a question. The DRA feature in 1.7 was broken. Was there a plan to backport a fix in 1.7?
Uh, can you? Sorry, this is the first time I am hearing about. What's the break exactly?
It basically has your own value of which attribute to take. I tried using it, and in 1.7, it just takes the PCIe root instead of the PCI address, and then it tries to find a device which is absent because it takes the PCI root instead of the PCI address. I can throw the link to the code where that happens. I wasn't just sure. Sorry, I'm first time here. Hi everyone. I'm Alexei. I'm from Intel. I'm introducing support to our DRA drivers for the KubeVirt and DRA. And yeah, I tried using the 1.7 release, and I managed to only make it work with the 1.8 beta 2, where it has the fix.
Sure. So if you can share the link, that will be helpful here. The address exact address string has gone through some churn because we are in the process of standardizing that address in Kubernetes. And after 1.7, that address has been standardized to be PCI bus ID. So it would be resource.kubernetes.io/PCI bus ID, and that should be the one we should use. So if we don't use that, we should be able to backport the use of that attribute in 1.7.
Yeah, that's the one it tries to use. It's just the value that's drawn in the constant. I'll share a link in a moment. I need to find it in the web interface of the GitHub. I have it open in my Visual Studio Code, but not in the browser.
Sure, no problem. And I just want to understand from you, do you plan on using the 1.7 release? Because there has been significant changes from 1.7 to 1.8. We would rather have folks use 1.8 if that is uh, more feasible than using 1.7.
Um, we ourselves are not planning to use it at all. We are much like KubeVirt itself, just developing the software for the Kubernetes and KubeVirt. And if there will be a fix in 1.7, we'll just claim that we support that because we will provide the attribute, the one that you mentioned, resource.kubernetes.io/PCI bus ID. It will be there in the resource slice for the devices. In the 1.8, when it will migrate to the manifests, we will support that as well, of course. But we just need to know if there will be a fix so that we know whether to claim that the support is there if the feature gets fixed.
Sure. Okay, that makes sense. So just so you know, in 1.7, there was a status field that this relied on. In 1.8, that status field will go away. So even if you claim support for it, the migration path will not be easier for users. So users will have to start from 1.8 directly. And the reason for this was that the status field is an alpha field behind an alpha feature gate. So we were okay in removing that. Um, I just wanted to throw that out there so you are aware.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. That's it from my side. Nestor, I think you can go next.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, before going to my changes, I have a question because okay, the S390X changes, as you have seen in the PR, I will copy it here. Let me I will copy it in the yeah, it's this one, yeah, correct. Yeah, as you see, this is for now, there's little tiny changes, which just verifies if we are in a if we are trying to start a S390X virtual machine, then we just change the device type.
Yeah.
My question is that I have seen in I'm just trying locally to rebase into your runs. I see there are some nice changes like writing into a file and so on, which you already explained. I also commented in your PR. There are some things that I am finding interesting. And my question is, um, if somehow these changes can be implemented in your PR.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, since you have worked on this, I was hoping that I can probably cherry pick it, or I can ask you to add these changes on top of my PR. Uh, but yeah, we can absorb it. I think we discussed this last time, but you were not here.
Okay.
The plan was that once these changes are reviewed for 1.8, we will have this as a bug fix or something. So this is available to you in 1.8. So um, if you want, I can do it, or I can save this for you to do it. I'm happy to do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, either
Mm.
way works for me.
Yeah, either way works for me too. As long as if it's a possibility to that goes in 1.8, that will be amazing. And I guess Jan and myself will be very happy, and also our product owners and so on. That's good news. Uh, yeah, and another question that I have is also, since I am rebasing and finding some stuff, um, how I'm also working with the DRA example driver.
Mhm.
So, which of course the DRA example driver does not work with this approach because the DRA example driver does not create the file in bar, run, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Um, mm, because also if I find something that some of improvement in the or bug fixing in your PR, may I make a pull request to your PR? May I ping you via Slack? How do you prefer?
Yeah, yeah. Pull request, make a pull request and share that pull request with me. I'll cherry pick or merge that as soon as possible. We
Okay,
we, we want to iterate fast on that PR, so I'm not sure what bandwidth you have for this, but yeah, I'm hoping to get reviews on it and iterate fast.
okay. So you mean the PR into main and then you cherry pick?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, okay. Um, yeah, I guess that
Yeah,
was it. Yeah.
just one thing for you, since you mentioned that you are working uh, on the example DRA driver, and I know that it doesn't support the uh, it doesn't support the KubeVirt side of changes because we don't have that actual object in the virtual machine, right? But what I have been doing so far is, hold on, let me find the
Yeah.
chat. Okay, yeah. So what I have been doing so far is I have this custom commit of the example DRA driver. And here I'm just creating those downward API files to verify my PR. So if you make a PR against my work, and if you want to use this to verify,
Yeah.
that will work for me as well.
Amazing. Amazing. Because I was after this meeting or tomorrow, I was about to do something like that. So,
Yeah, let's not duplicate. Let's use
yeah,
thing to
because
verify stuff. Yeah.
yeah, great.
And
Mhm.
eventually, after our changes get merged, we should be able to use a fake device driver implementation to make the example DRA driver work for end-to-end testing and everything. So hopefully we will have that soon, but I just don't have the time to do it before the code freeze. So I'll defer it after.
Yeah, let's think about that because I also have some draft PRs about that. And of course, when you create the device, then you can create the device, but then the VM crashes because the device doesn't exist. So we need to find some mocking possibility and so on. But I managed already to get a VM started, and of course, the VM crashes because VFIO PCI or VFIO AP doesn't exist.
Correct.
But
And that's
uh,
that's what I was saying we can mock. And I think or from the network side has done some POC to mock it out. We can potentially use that.
um,
We'll see. where it was, but there is a path to test this.
Yeah, cool. One question that I have is regarding also the DRA example driver. One of my concerns is that we have only the DRA example driver, only one reviewer, and I am waiting for a review from the PRs because for us, we need to change the approach from Kind to Minikube because Kind is not enabled in S390X. And yeah, basically, since that is a one-man show, this DRA example driver, and it's really useful. Do you know if the Kubernetes community is also helping maintaining this repository, or do you know the status?
Yes, it's so the workgroup device management is the responsible workgroup for maintaining that in Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to share the PR with me, I can look at it and kind of pre-review it. But I think what I expect is that with Kind, there will be significant additional responsibilities added to the maintainer. And since there is lack of maintainers, I mean, there is just one maintainer right now, we would have to make a very good case why uh, that is going to be beneficial. So, yeah, I think once you have that PR and once you make the case in that PR, the correct thing to do is bring it up for discussion in workgroup device management and get some verbal feedback of whether they would be happy to accept it or not. And I can work with you async to get that PR there.
Yeah, perfect. Because the work is there. I mean, it was like formally because the the work is already done. I mean, I am using it. But yeah, the technical work, so to speak. The to make the case, I didn't do that, but yeah, I will sync with you. Thank you. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. If it is there, then let's go take it up for discussion in workgroup device management.
Okay, great.
Okay. Yeah, that's all the topics that we have. Unless folks have other things. I know we are nearing code freeze, so hopefully we can give time back to everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Ali.
I have
I'll go try to review the your PR and hopefully we'll get it in.
Great. Thanks, Barry. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
I have a quick question. From the latest design point of view, was it so that the DRA driver is supposed to handle the VFIO PCI binding the device, meaning that unbinding from the original kernel module responsible for the device and then binding it for the VFIO PCI? Or was there some mechanism in KubeVirt that was intended to be used later on that
The
handles? Yeah.
Yeah, you mean driver switching, right? So you want to unbind it
Yeah.
from one driver to another? Yeah. Uh, so that is a big and yet in exploration topic on the KubeVirt side of things. So I know on our downstream implementations we are interested in this unbinding activity. In your case, does the binding and unbinding lead to different forms of devices? So to put the question explicitly, is it going from VFIO to mediated or something else?
Not mediated, no. It goes from the GPU driver to the VFIO PCI driver to be bypassed into the VM as a complete unmediated device, just a device. Just
Correct. But when it is in with the GPU driver, um, is it the vGPU slices or how is it in the non-VFIO mode?
it's as a whole, just as a GPU without being sliced into partitions.
I see.
It can be also split into the virtual functions with the SRIOV, yes, but then the virtual function to be bypassed into the virtual machine through KubeVirt, it needs to be unbound from the GPU kernel driver that handles it and then bound to the VFIO PCI driver.
Right. Yes. So yeah, in our case, the migration, so the unbinding from the VFIO happens to go from VFIO to MDEV mediated device, so it will be the vGPU slices, but the core concept is the same, which is we want the driver unbind to happen. This work, so there are certain gaps in Kubernetes DRA framework to achieve uh, this driver switching safely. And the gap is that when the driver switch happens, the driver needs to update the resource slice um, immediately, and there is a window between the driver updating the resource slice and the scheduler knowing about that update, right? And in that window, the scheduler can schedule according to the old resource slice, which has not been switched. So there will be a race between the driver and the scheduler uh, to schedule the workload. So in order to solve for this race, there is a feature being proposed for the next Kubernetes release, which will allow drivers to select specific profiles. And when that profile is activated, the others get deactivated at the same time, right? Uh, but yeah, in the current implementation, there is a gap. And because of that gap, we have not looked at solving this upstream.
Okay, but if the device is used exclusively without the possibility to share it, then the resource slice, why does it need to be updated? The resource driver is the one that obeys, the scheduler has allocated a device, and then the DRA driver just makes sure that the device is ready to be used by the KubeVirt, right? So the question at this point, should the DRA driver handling the device unbinding from the Linux kernel driver responsible and then rebind it to the VFIO PCI Linux kernel driver and hand it over to the Virt launcher to create the virtual machine QEMU domain with that PCI device inside? Or was there a plan that some part of KubeVirt will do the unbinding from the original Linux kernel driver?
No, I don't think we'll ever get to a place where KubeVirt does the unbinding. It has to be out of code from KubeVirt. Either the driver does it or some supplemental component to the driver does this. It will be on the driver architecture.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I just didn't want this to happen twice if we do it in our DRA driver so that something else then tries to do the same.
No, you're right. You should do this in the driver.
And Alexei, like going forward, just one thing to note is that some of the NVIDIA architectures, they will remain on the NVIDIA driver. So, it doesn't. They would have the implementation of the VFIO driver already implemented in there. So it doesn't necessarily need to be unbound. Actually, when you unbind it and trying to bind to the VFIO driver, it will no longer work because they have some kind of dedicated proprietary driver. So it from here it's becoming more tricky to handle it, generically in KubeVirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I think Eddie wanted to say something. I saw a hand.
I just want to say that it sounds very similar to the SRV operator that somehow has similarities here. That one is used in device plugins, but in there, it's specifically there is an operator and the act of unbinding from the original driver. In that case, it's usually the network driver. It's not part of the device plugin. So in equivalent here is the DRA driver. It's a different thing. The DRA thing just takes the devices or whatever it needs and moves them into the pod with the needed resources. And something else is making sure that the resources are available for that node using a different mechanism. I don't know what are the plans for the DRA in Kubernetes in this regard, but it doesn't sound good that the DRA driver will unbound and bound, because then how will it? It sounds like very risky. It may collide with other things.
So I know that we have been doing unbind and bind in device plugins with GPUs, um, and that the NVIDIA the NVIDIA DRA driver support for virtual machines. When we implement the MDEV mediated device, we will plan on switching this bind and unbind operation or the driver in the DRA driver, because that is the most authoritative source of what state the device is in right now. If we introduce an external component, then that becomes the authoritative source, and then we'll have different components owning the device separately. So from that perspective, specifically with DRA, it would be good to have the driver own it. In the case of device plugins, we had challenges and architectural issues why it would not make sense to own it there. But yeah, that at least that's my 2 cents on this topic.
Okay, it's just a matter of who is making sure that the resources are available, and like who is doing the unbinding to the pool. It's like, because it manages a pool. Like the SRV case, a pool is managed there. So if you don't need that pool, maybe you don't need it. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing with DRA. There is a concept of pool of devices. With DRA, the feature is called partitionable devices. So you should be able to say that this device can be expressed as either the single whole device, or a combination of devices where it becomes a pool, and that pool determines what gets selected from it, right? So that concept exists in the DRA APIs, and that's why I think architecturally it fits right into the driver to do this unbinding and managing this pool.
Okay.
Alexi, I think one question for you. Sorry if I mispronounce your name. But in your case, when you're doing the driver bind and unbind operation, is the attributes on the device supposed to change, or they remain constant before and after the operation?
We, at least at this point, this is just research phase of the R&D ongoing, and we don't change the cluster representation of the device at all. So from our perspective, we manage the GPUs, and then scheduler allocates a GPU, and that's a good question. How should we know that it's KubeVirt, that it needs it?
Yeah.
How should we make a decision that we should unbind it from the GPU kernel driver and then bind it to the VF IO PCI?
Yes.
Well, I'll have to study that, yeah.
So that is the biggest question that we ran into as well, because if you're bound to the kernel driver, then you're exposing the GPUs to containers. And then if you put it in VFIO mode, you put the same GPU with virtual machines. And that's where the missing gap that I was referring to earlier, where you need to select a profile of the same device that gets um, selected or allocated, is currently missing, and we would need that uh, to safely support this switch between the kernel driver and the VFIO. So yeah, this is an interesting discussion. Let me know what your the outcome of your research, and we can sync offline on this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
okay.
that's really annoying. I mean, obviously, if in the device plugin case, the allocate would be able to get a parameter of what to allocate, it would be solvable. But it's not the case, and we never were able to achieve. I mean, we've never been able to make them implement what we wanted.
No,
But there is a concept of device class,
mhm,
and
yes.
there's a concept of the device configuration that should be supplied along. So I'm just not sure which of those would be the best, but generally it should be very well possible to know that okay, the intended use of the device is to be bypassed into another host operational system, albeit virtual. So it's just a matter of picking which is the point that we decide to unbind. But generally, I think it is possible.
No, I think the issue that you'll run into is, let's say, the using the class config. If the user specifies that I want this in the VFIO mode, right, and your driver
Mhm.
gets activated after scheduler decides to allocate VFIO, then
Mhm.
the driver node prepare resource gets called. You do the unbind. Now, before you
Mhm.
do the unbind, if another user has requested the same GPU in uh, in the kernel in using the container mode, then the scheduler will still be able to allocate that GPU in the kernel mode, right?
No, the
Uh,
scheduler won't be able to allocate it because it's already been taken from the resource slice to a virtual machine pod, although through the different device class.
okay, so in that case, this is only possible because you are advertising the same GPU as both container GPU as well as a VFIO enabled GPU, correct?
I don't think so. There is two levels of associations. One is which DRA driver handles the devices, and then the device class that associates just the name of what kind of device you want to a selector. And selectors basically tells which DRA driver should be handling the devices according to the device class that you're defining.
Correct.
So you can define two different device classes, and they will point to the same resource slice devices. And if the scheduler allocates one of them through one device class, then that resource slice already has that device depleted, and it won't be able to allocate it even through the other device class because the resource slice has lost the capacity of that device, right?
Correct. Yes, but in that case, you're assuming that both the VFIO mode and the kernel driver mode are
Mhm.
being advertised as the same device in the resource slice.
As a single entry.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that is the reason why this works. For the NVIDIA DRA driver, we have use cases where these entries need to be separate devices. And in that case, we have this gap that the scheduler will double count the devices. But then the good thing is that we have a path and a feature proposed for that in the next cycle. So to Vladik's
Mhm.
point, I think we should be able to support both the approaches. One where the driver uses a single entry for the VFIO and the kernel mode, and for use cases where the driver has multiple entries of the same device.
Yeah, wasn't the consumable capacity cap already accepted in the current or previous release?
Yes,
Doesn't that give you also similar functionality?
that gives
Yeah,
us
it's beta.
functionality, but the API doesn't say so. So you have to express things in terms of capacity and not in terms of devices, right? So what we really want is expressing the profile of the device. So this device can be in the kernel profile or the VFIO profile or the vGPU slices profile or MIG partition profile. And if one profile gets selected, the other automatically gets reduced from the from the scheduler account allocated thing. I don't think the consumable capacity API is achieves this functionality. Yeah.
Okay, well, I myself haven't yet touched it, so I'm not in a position to assess it.
Okay. Yeah. If you find it otherwise, ping me on Slack and we can have one.
Okay. Yeah, we're working in this direction.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, folks, I think that's it for our call today. Thanks everyone for joining. See you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.